All right, welcome to the video. Today we have a very new and special guest. We have Nick learns Thai, and I'm very interested in doing this interview just to share with my audience other learners, other ways they're achieving their goals of learning the Thai language. And Nick's been learning Thai for quite a while. So, Nick, if you want to introduce yourself, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your background and your experience with Thai.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I've been watching your channel since I think you started, or closely after, and it's always interesting to see people's experiences, different experiences to me, and to learn from each other. So, really appreciate you starting your channel, putting the stuff out there, and also inviting me to come on. So,
Yeah, no
thanks
problem.
very much for that. Also wanted to probably say at the beginning that I'm not an expert in language learning or anything like that.
Right.
Sometimes people sort of take from the fact that you put content out there that you're like some expert or you're saying that your method's the best or something. So I want to say clearly up front that I'm not saying that.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
you know, just try to put the experiences out there and see help people out exactly like that. So just learning from each other. But yeah, I'm Nick. I'm Australian. I became interested in learning Thai about 7 years ago, I think it is now.
So,
And I've been sort of learning with different intensities throughout that time. So I often think that talking about years is a little bit misleading because one person might spend 2 hours a week, so that's 100 hours per year. Another
right,
person might spend 1,000 hours in a year. So you can't
right,
really compare those two people by just talking about years. So that's why hours I think I try to use, and I know the CI, the ALG people also like to talk about hours. I think that's a much better way of comparing. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of a brief little introduction.
so in generally, like what originally inspired you to start learning Thai? I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I always wanted to learn a language. Like we were forced to learn French at school. I remember that experience.
Really?
And I think I learned French. It's quite common in Australia to have French as like the go-to second language.
Okay.
There's a few others, but French is certainly up there. Um, so we were forced to learn French. I must have learned it for like 7 years or something throughout school, and I remember almost nothing. I was like not at all motivated to learn
Right.
French. It's not that easy to use French in Australia or around Australia. Like, okay, we have New Caledonia, but like other than that, like France is pretty far away,
Right.
and like Canada is pretty far away. So, I wasn't that interested in that. But at some point, kind of after school, I sort of was. I'd been thinking I'd love to learn a second language,
Right.
some second language. At that time, I didn't really have any idea what it would be, but I thought it'd be like a cool thing to do, as one of the bucket list items of life, learn another
Right.
language. So I had that sort of for a while. And then in 2013, I went traveling in Asia, and one of the places I went was Thailand, and I sort of really kind of fell in love with Thailand a lot, and I've been back a lot since then. And that was probably the reason I decided to choose Thai to learn because I really loved being in Thailand. I guess some other reasons perhaps is that it feels like quite a different language, the different script and everything, the
Right.
tonal side of it. So it's quite different. So it sort of feels kind of unique and interesting. So that maybe was part of it too. But yeah, there's a few different reasons there.
Okay, that's pretty nice. So, there's a lot of languages out there. Specifically, you chose Thai. Do you have any experiences with any other languages? So you mentioned a little bit about French. Have you ever, dabbled in any other languages?
Um, Not really. Trying to think. No, I don't think I have really at all. So with the French, like I said, I learned at school, pretty much remembered nothing.
Right,
I went to France at the end of after uni. Like I went to Europe for a year, like a gap year,
right,
and I spent a bunch of time in France. But I didn't remember any of the French from my schooling. I remember learning this one phrase was like "Je ne parle pas le français, parlez-vous anglais?" Like this one phrase, like I don't speak French, do you speak English?
right,
And that was the only French I had, and I
right.
didn't really learn anything while I was there. So yeah, I don't really have any other language experience other than the Thai journey, really.
Yeah, I think it's very similar here in the States. In America, pretty much everybody takes Spanish, but pretty much nobody who took Spanish in high school remembers anything. There's like
Mm,
hola, como está? Like that's all they really know. So it's very common over here as well. Um, so you have Thai. You're getting pretty high up there. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But have you ever considered like after Thai, is there another language? I know I spoke to a few other Thai language learners, and they're talking about their next language. Is there anything in your mind that you may consider doing next after Thai?
Yeah, it's a good question. When going back, a little while, maybe a few years ago, when I was
Right.
learning Thai, and I was like, I had like a similar idea, like, because you see people on YouTube and they're like, oh, the next language, and
Yeah, the
I've got
next.
this, I'm learning like 10 languages or whatever, and you're like, wow, yeah, maybe I can do that too. But
Right.
like after thinking about it some more, I don't think, I think Thai is like hard enough. Like,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, I had some idea of like maybe like Mandarin or something would be cool.
Yeah.
Like it's got some similarities to Thai, right? With the tonal part.
The time.
Another one I considered was this language called Karana. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, but it's actually an Aboriginal language in this region where I live in South Australia.
Okay.
So it's like no one would ever know about it
Me
unless you're
neither.
really,
I always like to learn languages on the
yeah,
side.
it's like a niche. It'd be
Nature.
like a niche kind of at risk of dying language type thing. But I mean, like Australia used to have, I want to say like hundreds of languages when before white people came here, like or the
Right.
Aboriginal people, and now there's a lot less than that that are still spoken. But one of the ones for this region is this Quran language. So I thought it would be cool to learn that, but it would be really challenging because the resources are very, very low, and there's the speakers. It would be quite difficult to find people to practice with. So that was kind of just like an idea, but I don't think it would really be practical. So, like in short, I think Thai is probably going to be the only one for the foreseeable future. Maybe in a different phase of my life, maybe in retirement, I might like do some other language. But yeah, I'm not really thinking about any other languages right now.
I spent most of my adult life, or even going in, like not knowing anything about Thai. So before I met my wife, I never even heard like any Thai language. It was always like, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. We had a lot of Vietnamese around my city. Like, do you remember your first exposure to the Thai language or any like phrases you picked up early on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit complicated. So I guess I mean I probably did have exposure to Thai when I was younger because there is quite a big Thai population in Australia. Like not so much in my city, Adelaide, but certainly
Right.
in Sydney and Melbourne, there's quite a few. But there's a lot of Thai restaurants around. Like Thai food's really popular here. So I probably definitely went to Thai restaurants when I was younger, and I would have had some exposure then, but I don't remember any of those. So in terms of like remembered exposures,
Yeah.
I would have to be when I first went to Thailand, and I don't also remember the specifics, but I would have learnt like hello and thank you and whatnot from
Right.
that. So that was probably like the early exposure, but it was just like that basic travel stuff, not anything deeper than that.
Yeah. So for the audience who don't know, like my channel has been a lot more about comprehensible input. So a lot of it's about like listening, not much reading. So what really separates like your style, you have like the entire spectrum. Like you know how to listen, speak, but also the big thing you can read. I don't know. Can you write as well?
Yeah, I can write. Right, my writing's pretty messy. If I
Yeah.
write like handwriting, I can type not too bad. I can chat with Thai
Right.
friends. Not pretty good. For chatting. I think chatting and reading are a lot easier than speaking and listening because you can choose the speed yourself.
Right.
So you can spend as long as you want writing a message, or you can
Right.
even look up words if you need to. Like you're not like forced to do it at a certain speed. And
Right.
for reading, same thing. You can spend, an hour reading one page if you wanted to like understand it. Whereas if you're listening, you have to take it at the speed that it comes, right? Um, but yeah, so I do write as well. But yeah, anyway, did you have a question about the?
Yeah, out of all those aspects, what do you think is probably one of the hardest parts of, learning Thai or just learn Thai in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, with the reading, certainly it's a different script. Is
Right.
certainly like something you have to overcome in the beginning. But it's kind of the thing about the script is okay, in the beginning it's quite intimidating. And you're
Right.
like, whoa, like how am I gonna understand this crazy script? It doesn't have any spaces between it, that's
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
But you kind of get over that relatively quickly, I'd like to say. And then it sort of feels impressive, like, oh wow, I've got this different script. It's completely different. It's like this alien language sort of thing. So I could say that like the reward of learning it is much
Right.
higher than the bar, and it's not quite as difficult as you might expect. It's mostly about like it's because like rote learning, I guess. Like you
Right.
have to learn these rules. They have these like tone rules. You have
Okay.
to learn which are kind of complex. You have to learn
Right.
the characters, obviously, blah blah blah, and you have to get used to reading something without spaces. So you have to get used to like the shape of the words and like the markers that sort of help you to know, oh, okay, this is the word. It's not this other cluster of characters.
Right.
Sometimes it's ambiguous and you kind of have to know the words to know, or like to know the phrasing to really know what the actual separation is. But
Right.
you can't get that over time. So I'd say that there was definitely a barrier there. But once you kind of get over that, it's more just about practice. And then you just sort of gradually improve from there.
For somebody who's like, just segueing a little bit into that, for somebody who's starting off, learning the script, some people are like, this is very difficult, but you've already achieved being able to like read. How long do you think it took you, or like an idea of how to get from learning to like actually putting words together? Because I think that, because some people think it's going to be like, the Korean alphabet, it only takes like a week or so or a few days. But for me personally, I tried originally with the script, and I found it very difficult. And I've talked to a lot of people, and they start with the script, but I think some people just need to keep pushing a little bit further. Like where's that difficulty? Where do you hit something where like the script is passable?
So you're talking about reading or writing or both?
Reading, because
The
I
reading side.
I can't give my audience opinion yet because I don't read at all. So I'm always amazed because you have like a Harry Potter book I see in your videos. I'm like, I can't even read the basic the hello. So
Yeah, it's a good question. I can't really remember
uh
too much detail in the beginning, like the specific path, but certainly it's some hundreds of hours, I think,
okay.
to get to a point where you can read like a novel. And I'm still not like, I'm not understanding all the words on the page most of the time.
Right.
So, um, yeah, but the other thing is the vocabulary level. So I
Right.
did go down this like rabbit hole a few years ago where I was learning about this thing called extensive reading,
Right.
where it's basically like, as far as I can tell, it's the most well supported method for learning a second language through reading.
Right.
But specifically, the research is around learning English. So people speakers of other languages learning English, and that's where
Right.
all the research is and stuff. But the idea is around like it's sort of the comprehensible input version of reading, where you read a lot of content such that you know like 98% of what you're reading,
Right.
98% of the words, and you're just picking up the words you don't know from context, sort of thing. So it's a very similar sort of idea.
Okay.
But to get to that point where you can actually learn through that is the hard part, right? And something I really struggled with was finding resources, like things to read that were interesting enough that they motivated me to read.
Yes.
Like I didn't just,
Yeah.
die from boredom, but they
Right.
were easy enough that I could read them. So, I mean, I tried lots of different ideas to try and like push through that period, and some worked, some didn't. But somehow, eventually, I was able to sort of push through. But there was a period for sure of like at least I don't know 6 months to a year where I was trying to read like each day, and I
Right.
was just reading really boring crap basically, and I was just trying different methods to like motivate myself to like just keep practicing until I could
Right.
get to a point where I could read something a bit more challenging, which would be interesting, and that would motivate me to read more. I guess the other part of it is the vocabulary. So
Right.
I was also doing like independent of the reading stuff. I was doing like vocabulary stuff with like Anki and stuff, and
Right.
that definitely like helps because yeah, I mean a big
Words
part
are
of it's getting
together.
the vocab.
I
So yeah, it's hard to kind of bring the two together to know the total time, but yeah, certainly in the hundreds of hours I think to get to like
I think it's
um,
helpful because some people like, I'm just going to learn the script and all of a sudden I can magically read. And sometimes people will be on Reddit and they'll be like, I spent all this time, just learning the alphabet. I still can't read because you don't have the words.
yeah. I mean
Right?
it's a it's a good point. Yeah.
Because everything, like my experience is like, everything's kind of written together. So unless you know the words and the break points, it can be definitely be difficult. But I think it's really inspiring because you've already done the work. You've shown that you can learn it as an adult because you started this when you're an adult, correct? Like,
Yeah, my sort of early 30s.
yeah, same here. Like I'm pushing almost 40 now. So, yeah. So how long did it take until you could start feeling like you can get the general idea of a basic conversation?
So yeah, that's an interesting question because yeah, it does depend, I guess, on the conversation. Like there's quite a range there, right? It's
Right,
the difficulty. So I probably I'll just take a step back and just explain a little bit about my journey
right,
of learning, just because I probably don't have. I mean, my journey is probably quite different to most of your audience, so maybe it's good to put that into context, I think.
right,
So I did like so over like the first sort of 5 years of learning, I had some gaps in there, but I did an in-person Thai class. Actually, it was online some of the time, in person some of the time.
right,
But like just 2 times a week, not like full-time student or anything like that. Um, so, but for the first 2 years, I just pretty much just did my Thai class and nothing else. So I did my homework, my Thai class, a little bit of Anki to like support the homework, but
right,
I didn't try to speak at all. I was like, I don't know, was a little bit introverted, I guess, and just kind of afraid of speaking is probably the
right.
best way to put it. Like afraid of putting myself out there, saying something wrong, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So I did almost no practice at all for the first 2 years, and just did this class. But I did practice in the class and stuff. So I followed. It wasn't like an ALG thing where I only did listening or anything like that. I was still kind of trying in the class, but I didn't really put a lot of effort into it outside of that. And then after that 2 years is when I sort of started trying stuff on my own and just trying different methods online and oh maybe this app would work or maybe this resource. Um, and then yeah, sorry, you asked about the conversations. Yeah, so after like year two into year three, I was like, okay, I've been learning 3 years. I'm not making much progress, so I put in a push to like get my level up. And then I sort of tried this app called Glossica, which is like this kind of sentence mining kind of app. It's a little bit like flashcards, but not exactly. But
okay,
you've got all these sentences basically. You just sort of practice reading them and speaking them. And that kind of got me a bit more confidence in my
right.
pronunciation. And from there, I jumped into italki and found some like paid practice partners. And that was the final push I needed to get to like conversational level for speaking. Although, were you asking about speaking or understanding?
So just understand a basic conversation.
Oh, okay, yeah, for the understanding side, yeah. I mean, maybe it was like, um, yeah, really hard to say. Yeah.
The basic formalities, greeting people, everyday items, things of that nature.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's probably not too long. Maybe, yeah. I couldn't put a number of hours on it, but like maybe a year or so, or half a year to a year. But it depends a lot on what you're talking about because two Thai people speaking together and me as a third person trying to understand is like
Right,
very different from me being in a conversation or
right,
someone like a teacher speaking like slowly and clearly. Like those like things are so different that it's not even really worth talking about them in the same breath.
right,
Because two Thai people speaking, they're speaking fast, they're using slang, they're not really
right.
speaking like clearly, they're looking here and there, they're
Yeah,
interrupting each other. It's so much more difficult.
yeah,
So I mean, even if it's a basic conversation by Thai standards, it's still like so much more difficult than you know basic kind of learning material sort of thing. So
gotcha.
I think it really depends on what you're talking about to say.
I think one of the differences between our approaches too, I kind of had a structure in my mind. I was going to do this ask me a book or teach yourself, and it was kind of like I'm going to follow this method I already had in my head. You tried a little bit of everything. It seems like. Did you make any mistakes you think early on? Like, what are some mistakes you feel
Oh,
like you made in the beginning? You tried a lot.
yeah, I mean, I think I made lots of mistakes, so many mistakes. I mean, I sort of going back to the class thing. I don't
Yeah,
know what came over me, but for some reason, because I'm usually like the guy that is always like researching online to find the best method. But for some reason with the Thai learning, I just didn't
right,
do that. I don't even know why. But basically, I just trusted that the class I was doing was already using the best method. But I
right.
found out later that that's probably not the case. So I think I think that was a very inefficient way to learn. Um, there was other reasons I like enjoyed that, like the group and all that, and
Right.
I had a good teacher. But yeah, I think that was kind of inefficient in a way there. Aside from that, yeah, I tried lots of different methods. I mean, I got video on my channel where I kind of went through like 30 different methods that I'd tried and tried to rank them. Um, Part of it, of course, is that you get bored with some methods.
Right.
So sometimes it's you switch methods because it's not working. Sometimes it's like it just gets boring and you want to
Right.
try something different. So um, I guess there was different reasons for me switching things up. But in terms of like things that I felt like didn't really work, I mean, I definitely did try. I guess it's like a version of immersion, but like watching movies or watching something that was like way outside my level,
Right.
or like just trying to put myself in a conversation in Thailand, for example, when I just found that if it's way outside my level, it's just so difficult to understand that it's not beneficial at all. So I would say that was like a method or some collection of methods that's just doesn't really work for me, at least.
Right.
Maybe like if you're in a full immersion situation, for months and you're like forced to learn because that's the only way you're going to survive. Okay, that's a little bit of a different situation. And
Right.
it was never in that situation, so I can't really speak to that. But um, as a learner trying to like expose yourself to like really high level stuff, I feel like was almost useless. So I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. At least if you're if you have a similar
Right.
learning style to me, perhaps. So
Some
I
people
guess it
have
depends
that
on the person.
philosophy. They're like, I don't know any part of the language. I'm just going to go to the country and somehow just learn it. And it's
Mm.
everything's so high level already. You're struggling with hello. You're not going to pick up as much as if you just went there a little bit, a little bit more prepared. I think a lot of
Yeah, I
people take
think
the short.
definitely the stepping up method is makes a lot more sense to me
Yeah.
as a way to learn it through like exposure.
So do you collect Thai resources? Because I know a lot of language learners, they have these impressive bookshelves full of, textbooks and language books.
Not really. I have one textbook, I think, which my teacher gave me one time, a Thai reference grammar book,
Yeah.
but I like kind of dabbled with going through it, but not really seriously.
Right.
Outside of that, I guess I do have quite a lot of online resources that I've collected over time. And particularly when I went down this kind of reading rabbit hole, I tried to collect lots of reading resources because
Right.
that was the thing, like I said, that I was struggling with, trying to find, reading resources at the right level and whatnot.
Right.
So I've got some, spreadsheets of different resources and different like online resources and YouTube channels and stuff. So I guess online stuff is more what I've got, but yeah, not too much in terms of like physical textbooks and stuff.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. When I first started, like I had an idea, I'm gonna learn Thai. I was like, what is the best textbooks? And I was like, I'm gonna buy them all. And then I got them and I realized that they had the Thai script and underneath them, they all had a different phonetic system. So just because you learn the way in this book doesn't mean you're gonna learn how to pronounce in this book. Like the K's, the B's, and all the other sounds. It's like people who are learn maybe like Chinese, they have a very standard alphabet, like pinyin or whatever they call it. But Thai is just it's a free for all. Every book is completely different, and it's like there's so many Thai books out there. There's so many who are just terrible, just absolutely terrible. So if you're a book collector and you're trying to learn Thai, I just feel like most books are just not worth it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And that's the whole what do you call it, like transliteration or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
transcription method, where they
yeah,
try to use English characters, and
right,
I think that's like one of the worst things you can do, pretty much. Because I've met several people that were like, "Oh, I don't want to learn the script," but they did want to learn. So you differentiate people who are doing like your method, like the input method. So you're not
right.
learning to read at all and you're not writing stuff down. So that's okay to use that method. But certainly the worst method is to try and use this transliteration method because it just doesn't map onto the sound system. So you end up picking up all these bad habits and stuff. So, and yeah, you've also got to be, careful with textbooks if they're using different systems and blah, 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 because it won't match across. But I think just ignore those systems. If you want to learn to read, learn the script. There
Right.
is one guy on Reddit who recommends he learned the like the International Phonetic Alphabet. So if you want to use some
Right.
transliteration system, then do that one. But don't use this like random systems.
Because it wouldn't be consistent, and then it
Yeah,
doesn't match
exactly. Yeah.
up. I realized that really quick when I was going like
And
just
it won't.
for the books. I was like, what's
Yeah,
going on here?
And the other thing is it won't even be consistent in your own mind because you'd be surprised. Like you write something down one day, and then a week later you come back and you try to try to figure out what that character, what
Yeah.
sound that character is mapping onto, and you can't remember. And you
Well,
just say it in a different way. So it doesn't even matter. It's not even consistent over time in your own head.
it's not because like in our English mind, like certain letters have certain sounds, but when you hear the audio, it
Exactly.
doesn't even match up. And so
Yeah.
it
And
just
there's so much variation in English as to like an A in this word can have this pronunciation, but an A in that word can have that one. And also an A in the Australian English and an A in, American English is also very different. So
yeah,
it's not even, this is so inconsistent, it's just completely useless. So I wouldn't go
yeah.
down that path.
Don't go down that route. Are there any resources that you feel like, okay, these really had a positive impact on my studying? Like these are maybe something I would recommend for somebody who's studying Thai. This one or two or three things had an impact that really helped me get better at my language learning.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I mentioned before, there was this Glossica website, which I definitely was like a integral part of my journey in particular. And like I said, it's sort of like I think it's they've got maybe like 2,000 or 1,000 or 2,000 Thai sentences where
Right,
they have sort of native audio, they have the script, and so you can listen, you can repeat, and you
right,
can record yourself and compare them, and you can practice typing it out and compare that. And it's sort of like a flashcardy type system. But just by sort of rote learning or practicing over and over with the sentences, that really helped me to sort of get to a point where I was confident to go to the next step, I guess, in my speaking practice. So that's definitely one I would recommend, at least trying. I mean, all these things, of course, it's going to depend on the learner. So you try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you move on to the next thing. Another one is italki, or at least I guess some similar platforms. So I've used it for teachers as well, but the thing that really helped me was finding conversation practice partners. And I
right,
guess it's probably worth mentioning like it's going to depend a little bit on your how much money you've got to spend on your Thai learning and how much time you've got. Because if you don't have much money but you've got time, then italki like paying someone to practice with probably isn't the best method. You might want to try something like HelloTalk and find a language exchange partner. So that's good if you've got time but no money.
right,
If you've got some money but less time, then I think iTalk is great because you can find these language practice partners. It's online, so you don't have to go anywhere. You don't lose time, in the transport
right,
uh, part. And it's 100% in Thai, so you don't have to do like half in English to do an exchange.
right,
And then it's just a one-on-one, so it's like the perfect thing. So I did that like 2 or 3 hours a week, I think, with different people over like a 6 month period, and I felt like I improved quite rapidly during that period. So that's another one I can definitely recommend. Outside of that, there's lots of different websites, but I've seen. I don't know if you're familiar with Stuart J. Raj. He's
yeah.
got
That's all.
he's got some YouTube content and stuff, but he's got this like suite of tools he's made recently. So I didn't really use it, but looks pretty impressive. So I think that could be definitely be useful for like someone beginning or in the learning journey now. So yeah, that's another one to look at.
When I was looking up Thai speakers, like, because my big thing is like when you try and look up Thai, like people learn Thai, it's either like they just open a book and they're on like week one or they're fluent. Like I want to like
Yeah,
see
right.
people
The
with
end of
the journey. It's like the guy you just mentioned, like he's completely fluent. He has an entire YouTube channel in Thai. He makes he makes videos for people like for Thai, right? And
mm,
then you have people who just start off for like 1 week. So you don't have people in the middle. That's why I liked your channel. It's like you showed like you're learning, but you're really advanced though. I always like, you can speak, you can read. And I think one of the things that really like I was like, wow, because again, I can't read yet, is the video you have like I'm reading Harry Potter. Like,
mm.
do you find reading that book, is it enjoyable in Thai? Is it very difficult still reading at this level?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the Harry Potter thing because I've had it as a goal because I've never read Harry Potter in English. I've
Right?
seen some of the movies. Like I've seen
Right.
a few of the movies I've seen several times, and some
Right.
of the movies I've seen maybe once, and then a bunch of them I haven't seen at all. So that's kind of my experience with Harry Potter. Um, so I had this goal for a long time, like I'd like to eventually be able to read Harry Potter. And then I had the opportunity to buy the first book in Thai. But at that point, which was, about a year ago,
Right.
I didn't think I was ready. But then like one day the book was there and I was like, oh, I'll just try to read the first page and see like how I go. And I was like, oh, actually I can understand most of what's going on. So
Right.
from there I just sort of started reading it and I found that I'm not understanding all of it. And some pages are better than others. It's very, very page specific. So like
Right.
one page I might understand like 90% or more of, of of the words.
Right.
Other pages it might be somewhat less. I have actually tried to analyze, so I don't know where I got this from, but every 90 pages or so, I'll analyze the page. So I can
Right.
count all the words on the page, count the words I know, count the words I don't know, and count the words I kind of know. And then I'll like work out a percentage. And usually it's around 90%. Sometimes it drops below 90. And if
Right.
it's below 90, I've found it's it starts to get quite difficult to understand the gist of what's going on. If it's 90 or above, still a bit of a challenge, and I might have to reread certain sentences over and over to kind of get it, or I might just have to skip past it. But I still can get the basic idea of what's going on most of the time. And like one thing I found, like not every word is equally valuable because like
Right.
some like adjectives and stuff, it's not really that important for the overall story to understand this adjective. It's like,
Right.
there's a man standing there, but how tall is he? How fat is he? Like, what's his
Like
like,
the Iliad. Yeah.
demeanor? What color is his clothes and stuff? Okay,
Right.
so all that stuff is not that important for the story, right?
Right.
Like maybe it adds up some detail. So not every word is equal, and so you can kind of get through it if you know enough of the right words. Is I guess one way to think about it. So at the moment, I'm reading. So I'm reading. I try to read every day. Like I've got this kind
Right.
of streak of 20 minutes per day, and on a good page, I can read it in like 6.5 minutes, and on a bad page, it might be as long as like 15 minutes for the page. So it's quite a range.
Okay. So it depends on the page. Gotcha. So for somebody learning, like starting out learning Thai, where's some, if you had to pick one thing that was like something that really helped your listening comprehension? Because I think a lot of people they read Thai, but once they hear it spoken, they have no idea what the words were, but they know like they already knew every word. What would be the one thing that'll help with listen comprehension?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like, so if you know all the words, but when you listen to it, you still can't put it together.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing there is obviously like catching the word and like matching it to the word that you know is one thing, but also getting it at speed. The speed part is kind of the hard part that
Right.
I found. I mean, I think certainly just practice and certainly and starting from a lower level and building up is a big part of it. And if you find you can't catch it, then you've got to step down either in like the complexity of the language, the complexity of the grammar, or the speed, or a combination of those things until you can understand it, and then you can kind of step back up from there. Beyond that, like a strategy or a thing that I've kind of noticed that is helpful is that you can get tripped up if let's say you're listening to like a long sentence, like you understand, understand, and understand, but then you hit a word you don't understand, and then like understand, understand, understand. If you like fixate on that one word, even for like a half a second, you've already missed the rest of the sentence because you were thinking about that one word that you didn't know.
Right.
So that kind of a strategy, it just can't work because you won't even hear the rest of the sentence. So how can you understand it? So I think like a strategy there is to sort of try and train yourself not to do that, not to fixate on the word you don't know. Try to kind of hear the whole sentence, and then you think about it and try to like piece together what the actual sentence was. Because if you still understood, you know, if you misunderstood one word in the middle, let's say it's a 5 word sentence or whatever, or a 10 word sentence, okay, you still understood most of the words. And if you got the full sentence, you can probably make out what it was meant to be. But you can't do that if you get stuck in the middle and then don't listen to the rest. So the idea would be sort of to try and take an overview of the full sentence. I think for reading this works as well. Like if you have to read subtitles like quickly, try to take an overview of the whole sentence and then try to think about the meaning as opposed to like trying to catch each word as it's coming. I mean, you obviously want to be able to do that as well, but I think that can come later with more practice and more experience.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I think a lot of people they start getting like they hear words, they just want to know like what's the best way to help with listening comprehension. A lot of people start getting stuck with that. I think YouTube channels are great. All right, so another thing. So you've been studying for a while. Now you're not quite at a beginner level. What does your everyday like study habits look like? Because I know mine drastically changed. Like how many my study's been changing a lot in the past year. I just want to know, like, your method because you're following more like a structured approach. What does it look like now? Is there textbooks involved? Is there like YouTube videos? Are you just reading? Like, what does the everyday study look like at this level?
Cool, cool. Yeah, good question. So I mean, I should say it's changed a lot in the last 6 months or so because
Right,
my life has become a lot busier just recently.
right,
But at the moment, I'm doing so for a long time, and also at the moment, I've been doing my 20 minutes of reading per day. I'm
right.
usually just reading Harry Potter, like we talked about before. So I've got a streak sort of thing going. I found myself like an accountability partner with that, a Thai person who likes to read English. We've got a spreadsheet together and we kind of record our goal each day. And I think I'm up to about 450 days or something in a row of 20 minutes per
Yeah,
day. So pretty happy with that streak. And that's really helped to keep me doing it each day to have this
right,
streak thing. So that's definitely part of it. And sometimes it might be more than 20 minutes, but it's like at least 20 minutes. I do this like daily vlog idea, which I called like speaking out loud in Thai daily vlog. It's like 5 to 10 minutes, just talk on some random topic off the cuff. Um, and yeah, I don't know how much that helps to be honest, but I thought at the very least it would be interesting to like track my progress.
right.
So I had like haven't done this yet, but I might like get some of the videos like randomly over the period because I've done it for about a year now. So I've got about a year's worth of videos. I could get some of those videos and like send them to teachers and stuff and get them to rate them and then like see if I have improved or not. But anyway, that's
That'd be
a
hilarious.
that's an
You send
experiment
like
for another day. But
you send the last one and you send the middle one, they pick the wrong
yeah, exactly, something like that. So
one.
we'll see if I do
Yeah,
that. But other than that, so they're the two main things I do every day. And then throughout the week, I'll have different sort of speaking practice related things. So there's a few like online groups that I join, like some they kind of come and go. I've got
right,
my own actually on Sunday nights, like a language exchange one. So that's cool. It's we do it like half 2 hours, like half English, half Thai.
really?
It's yeah, Sunday night Australian time and
Okay,
Thai time. Um, so that's usually each week. And then there's other ones where I'll join and it's like only Thai or it's language exchange, so a bit of like speaking and li listening practice in those.
okay,
And at the moment, I've been trying to get back into using italki again. So I've just started with a few different teachers the last couple of weeks. It is tough to fit into my schedule though, so I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to like continue with that or not.
right,
So we'll sort of see about that, but I'd love to have that more in the routine.
right.
So I get like speaking practice, and then I've got some Thai friends I try to meet up with to practice speaking and stuff. I'm actually going to the Thai festival here in Adelaide tomorrow. I have it once a year, this Thai festival, so I'll hopefully get some opportunity to practice there, talking to the different sellers and whatnot. Um, yeah, I think that mostly explains my kind of routine at the moment. YouTube as well. I try to mix in YouTube wherever I can. Eh, I go up and down with YouTube because, particularly at the moment, because I'm busy. Like at the end of the day, I kind of just want to, if I'm gonna consume some content,
Right,
it's mostly for relaxation and enjoyment. And
right,
most of the time with Thai content, okay, some of it I find it enjoyable, but often it's like I have to force myself to watch it, and it's not the most enjoyable thing I could be watching. So if I want to just relax, I'll usually just put something in English, and it's if I'm gonna, use that time for Thai, I kind of have to like give up some of the enjoyment I would have had from English and then do
right,
it for Thai. So sometimes I can do it. I have had a little bit of success with having Ty on in the background, if I drop the level down a bit, I can follow it not too badly. One channel I found I can do this with is Slangaholic, which he
yeah, I
it's
know.
a native sort of level channel, but he interviews a lot of Luk Krung, so like half Thai, half something else. So I
Right,
think they probably speak a little bit slower, a little bit simpler language than someone who was 100% Thai, uh, brought up in Thailand. So I think
right.
that helps a little bit. but yeah, content, trying to mix it in when I can, but I don't have a really like solid strategy with that, like getting content every day or anything like that.
So you use that for kind of like passive listening, like on the background?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to do active if I
Yeah.
can. And then if I can't, I can't. If I'm doing something else, like on the computer, for example, that I have to do some boring task, that's
Right.
kind of cool to put it in the background. Then that's kind of passive listening, I guess.
I think
But
one thing with the comprehensible input crowd that I run into like little things on my channel is that there's a group who do a lot of random things. They're like riding their bicycle, they're gardening, they're working out, they're doing all this random stuff while they're listening, and they're still tracking those hours.
mm,
So there's so many people who I talk to and they're like, it's so easy. Like I ride my bicycle, I do Uber while I'm listening. They're multitasking so much while they're listening. And but they track all those hours at the same time. It's something in my mind I'm still like struggling with balancing. Because I know you brought up
mm.
passively listening, and I always wonder like, do people really like benefit a lot from passive listening? And should that count towards their I know it's a different like study crowd, but you'll be amazed how many people are like, I'm gardening, I'm riding my bicycle, I'm working out, I'm doing all this random stuff. I'm doing dishes, I'm cleaning, and they're just starting out learning Thai. Like, okay, I got 100 hours and I listen while I gardening and do dishes. I'm always like, how much are you really learning?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And I was thinking about something related to that this morning, actually. Because, like, for example, what I mentioned earlier about how it's better to track hours than years, like when you're
Right,
learning. But obviously, even at the hours level, there's different qualities of time within the
right,
hour. And like
right,
a simple example I can talk to from my experience is my ability to get value from the time putting in goes down so much if I'm tired. Like if it's the end of the day, like
right,
particularly when I'm talking about this streak stuff. Like sometimes it's a busy day and I have to leave my 20 minutes to the very end of the day.
right,
And if I'm really tired, it's almost wasted time. It's so bad the quality. Even if I compare
right,
that to like the beginning of the day or somewhere during the day
right.
when I'm not tired, the quality of that time, like the what I get out of it is so much higher. So you can't even really compare minute to minute, at that level. But at some point, it's like too difficult to track, like, the quality and the time. So I think hours is kind of a good kind of medium point to look
Yeah,
at. And in terms of like passive listening, I guess, yeah, it's tricky because I mean, I guess if you actually don't have the time to do the active listening,
right,
passive listening is probably better than nothing.
right,
But yeah, trying to get the right balance. I guess you don't want to like only do passive if you like not do active because you think the passive is enough, sort of thing. Because maybe it isn't, or maybe not, or maybe there's something you have to do there, like drop the level down like several you know, rungs to
right.
make the passive still valuable or something, and then the active can be at a higher level. Not sure, but yeah, it's an interesting point.
That's exactly what I've been doing. So I actually went back to the Thai Comprehensible Input YouTube channel and just started when I was working out doing random things, just put the like intermediate videos on now. And it's like because it's so, they talk very differently, like very clear, slowly than like native content that's just sporadic. So that's what I've been doing now. It's been a lot more successful, but I still find it very difficult to like when I'm like I'm tracking these hours, I'm doing multiple things, but I'm still trying to restructure mine, and people probably see it later in the channel. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to have like this learning dojo in my garage where I can exercise or focus on Thai. I'm trying to put a TV and everything.
Mm,
It's just something that I'm trying to develop, because Thai it takes a long time, and I think a
mm.
lot of people think they're going to learn Thai like in 3 months before their vacation. And it's really not the language that this is going to work for. I think for an English speaker, even when I tried my best with comprehensible input, like put in 6 to 8 hours a day, even if I did a textbook or Anki with it, like I don't feel like it would just been like magical in my head. So
Yeah, it's true. It's tough. It brings up a good point that we talk a lot about, and particularly on Reddit, you see a lot of this, right? what's the best method? What's the most efficient method? Your method sucks. My method's way better. Blah blah blah. Like there's so
Right.
much of that, but actually, in the long run, the thing that matters more than how efficient the method is how well you can stick to it.
Right.
Because it like you say, it's not going to be something you can do in 3 months or even a year. Like it's a multi-year process for most people. So it's much more important to pick methods that you can stick to, you can actually do for the long term. Because
Right.
obviously, a method that's like most efficient, but you can't actually ever do it. You can't actually do it for more than 2 months. Then obviously that's
Right.
not going to be effective, is it? So it's a good point.
Yeah. So let's let's go back to the person trying to start out for a little bit. So if they're trying to start out, do you think it'd be better for the person to just learn a word and start speaking right away, or just take a time or period? I think this is really big in the input crowd where you have like a silent period. How do you feel about that? Like using your method and your own experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I never knew about comprehensive input when I started, or ALG, or whatever the different,
Right.
versions of that. So I never considered, doing it. So, but if I think about it now, I think I'm perhaps am the sort of person that might have been drawn to a method like that because it's different, it's interesting, and I could imagine myself, being drawn to doing that and kind of documenting it and whatnot.
Right.
So I can't really say what it would have been like if it had been like that. So what I usually say now, I read a post where I kind of put my thoughts together on this basically. And it's sort of what I say, I think for beginners is, yeah, I think you should probably try this ALG thing for maybe like 1 to 3 months at the beginning. So I don't think there's any negative effect. Even if you decide like it's just rubbish, I don't think there could be any negative effect to doing some listening for 1 to 3 months. But on the flip side, if you do want to do this method, then I think it's better to start because obviously the method is that you don't speak in the beginning.
Right.
So you can still have the opportunity to follow it if you start with this first. So I think it's probably a good idea. And if you find that you can't stick to it or you want to supplement with other stuff, then you can do that after you've done your 1 to 3 months or whatever it is of the comprehensible input approach. And then from there, I mean, I still think it's super valuable. And I mean, the thing that I have found that makes the most sense to me, there's this guy called Paul Nation. He's like this New Zealand professor of like second language acquisition. So I'm no expert on like, that side of things, but from my reading, my understanding, and my research on it, he's kind of got this framework he calls the four strands method. And it's like a framework for how to combine other methods together and like what proportion of your time you should spend on different like approaches. And he speaks to comprehensible input as being like a huge part. And he's from the academic like background. So he's from the world of like textbooks and learning in classes and stuff. And he thinks that like comprehensible input's important. So I think regardless of what method you use, you have to admit that using input and having it step up at a reasonable level should be included. It just depends on like what other stuff you do. Like, do you do nothing else, so it's just pure like ALG, or do you supplement it with other stuff? So I think that's more of the question, and I think it's going to be different for each person. So you got to sort of figure out what works for you, and remembering again that the important thing is finding the method you're gonna be able to stick to for the long term, not the one that's like 100% the most efficient now. Like I have to get the most efficient method.
Right.
Another like thing to say on that is like don't spend too much time. It's very tempting, and everyone will fail at this to some degree, I think. But don't spend too much time learning how to learn. Like watching all these videos, I mean, obviously this video is that, so it's a little bit, so you can obviously watch our channels, that's fine. But, but outside that, you shouldn't spend too much time. Don't, if you've got an hour, 10 hours per week, don't spend 5 hours of it learning how to learn. So that's one thing I think is a huge benefit of this ALG kind of comprehensible input approach is you don't have to think about what the next method is. You already know what you're doing. Like you just
Right.
open up the next video, whatever, go on to the next thing. It's already there for you. So you don't have to think about, you don't have to waste time that you could be spent, you could spend learning how to learn. So that's another part to it.
Yeah, I think there was a time period when I first started. I was like, I'm researching all the best books. I'm watching all these YouTubers review books. I always go to YouTube for literally everything. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn this. Like this person started learning Thai like 10 years ago. What book did they use? And then you go down that route, like that road of like, okay, what's the best way of learning Thai? And you have, if you start the comprehensible input channel, because I found that later. So I already had my idea. I'm going to start with these textbooks. And I discovered the Thai comprehensible input channel. I gave it a try. And at first I was like, okay, I don't know. This is so boring. And then around 100 hours, 200 hours, it just seemed rough. But I don't know why. I got really obsessive. So I was like, I'm just going to keep sticking with it until about 300 hours. And 300 hours, when you think about it, is a
Mm.
long time to really see any major like clicking. So that's why I think some people are like, oh, I'm just going to knock out Tide in 6 months or 3 months. Even if you start with, the comprehensible input channel is really helpful, but I didn't feel the benefit because like the textbook method, you learn the word quicker. Like you have the word in front of you. And then it really took, to me, like 300 hours when something just finally clicked. And I was like, my understanding is so much better now. And then, like you said, I knew exactly what to do. I just watched more videos. And then I was gotten this loophole. I'm just going to watch more and more videos until I have no more time in my life. And that really helped for a time being. But kind of like we mentioned, like there's a lot of different ways of putting things together where I feel like the more rare words don't show up as frequently now. Or if I just had something to remember them, I will remember them easier because I hear them in context, and then I will watch a YouTube video. I won't hear them for days and days. And I hear it again, I might have to think about it. It's like, okay, I'm at this level where if I hear it now, I can kind of understand it. But if I was going to speak it, no way. It would not come to me like recall. So I don't have that recall yet for the more difficult words.
Yeah, that's a good point. A really good point about, going from beginner to intermediate to advanced because if you think about if you get into this like extensive reading thing I was talking about, you
Right,
start to learn about the idea of frequency lists. And
right,
like there's different, ways to think about it, and you can never really have a perfect frequency list, but we can all agree that some words occur more often than other words. And
right,
that sort of speaks to what you're saying. Like, certain number of words you've seen so many times and they'll just come up in every video you watch, you'll have all of these words. So they're the words you're really good at. But once you get to a certain level, it's just harder and harder to find the new words. And
right.
like you're saying, you might only see it once every week or once every month. So how are you going
Yeah,
to like learn? You have to what you have to do it for 10 years before you've seen that like enough times
right.
to learn it. So there's a lot of people on Reddit talking about strategies like around this where they're watching content and they're like mining it, adding stuff to an Anki list and then blah blah blah. So like trying to get more exposures to those more rare words by using like flashcards and stuff. So that's
Right,
kind of an interesting kind of approach because otherwise, yeah, you just have to consume a massive amount of content in order to
right.
get up. Let's say like more than like a 3,000 word vocabulary. Then once you get past that,
Yeah.
um, it's just like
But then you keep
so much
watching.
content to just get one new word.
Yeah, then you're like, okay, I'll just gotta keep watching the same type of video, but then it gets boring.
Mm,
You watch the same video over and over and over. I want to watch about dinosaur bones, and it's the same dinosaur for 50 hours. Then your mind starts zoning it out too. It's just
mm,
a little bit different for me. But yeah, everything's slightly different. If so, just going on to that, if you had somebody like they always comment on Reddit, I want to learn Thai. Is there any, recommendations, like some go-to things that they should maybe look into or invest in?
sure. Well, firstly, that first thing I mentioned that before about ALG, consider it, maybe try it, and then think about if you want to add other methods.
Right.
Because if you don't want to add other methods, I think the strategy is already there. You just follow you know, through the videos, go up to higher and higher difficulties as you can understand them. But if you want to supplement with other things, I mean, I think the things you want to look at if you want to stay with a kind of a passive approach, so not starting with the active uh, speaking in like early. then you could go to the flashcard route. So try to mine words. You can either, if you've got time and like motivation, you mine the stuff that you're consuming,
Right.
extract out the words from that, add them to an Anki deck or something, and then learn them. That's like one approach. If you don't have, like, I don't really have the motivation or patience to do that method, so I usually try to find Anki decks and stuff that are already made, and maybe they're based on a frequency list or something. So you kind of um, trust that it's going to be roughly in order of usefulness, and then sort of learn from that. If you want to get into the speaking side, I think it's really important for pronunciation to get your sounds right early. And I think I mean, maybe it's possible to do this without a teacher, but it'd be really, really helpful for you if you have a teacher or someone who's good at giving you good feedback in
Right.
the beginning to correct any bad habits that come up. Because I picked up bad habits in the beginning and it's so hard to go back later and like correct them. So much, much better if you can just get it right from the beginning and then build from there than having to go back.
Right.
On the writing side, I found that, I mean, you have to get to a certain level before you can do this, but certainly learning to touch type in Thai was a huge advantage for me because now it's not this clunky, like one character after another. It's much more fluid, so you can kind of use it more.
Right.
And on the reading side, yeah, that's a tough one. Like, you've got to follow a similar path to the comprehensible input, but for reading, and you've just got to find some way of bridging the gap between content that's easy enough to read, but really boring, and getting up to the content that's interesting and motivating to read. So you've got to find some kind of thing, whether it's a streak thing, whether it's like one method I tried. I mean, if you don't like reading in English, this wouldn't work for you, but I like reading in English, so I was reading my English book each night, and I sort of told myself I can't read my English book until I've read one page of this Thai children's book. So that was one thing I tried, and I found that kind of worked. So I was kind of like, you know, finding some trick to like psychologically trick myself to do my Thai to get
Right.
through this boring period so I could get into the more interesting period. So there's a few things I think you could start with at the beginner and higher upper beginner level.
Okay. I know a lot of people are like, I don't have time. Like, I only have 15, 30 minutes a day. What would you recommend for somebody who has 30 minutes or less? What should their studying you might suggest look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be similar. Probably, I mean, if it was only 15, 30 minutes, that's like really short. So I don't think you
Yeah.
could do multiple things within that time.
Right.
I think you'd probably want to do day by day. You'd want to do like, let's say it's a week. So at the beginning of the week, okay, you do like your input days, maybe Monday, Tuesday, or something like that. So you
Right.
got like say 30 minutes watching a Thai video and 30 minutes of another video or the same video again. And then if you can do it efficiently, this could be difficult if it's not efficient, but try to mine that content and get some words out of that. And then try to learn those words. I think that would probably be a good strategy. If you only had the 30, 15, 30 minutes. Then, of course, if you want to focus more on the pronunciation side, you could perhaps have a teacher for half an hour on a Monday, or yeah, a teacher on half an hour on a Monday, and then like take what notes that they gave you and do like shadowing or kind of repetition of sentences that they've given you over the week, and then back on the next Monday, you kind of review what you went through with the teacher again, and they give you more notes and stuff. So yeah, some sort of path like that I think would work.
Gotcha, gotcha. I think, I never really thought about that. I was naturally just going to divide the time in 30 minutes and divide by three, but that makes a lot more sense. Where you have enough time to focus on each individual task, like every day is a different task. That makes more sense when you think about it. So you have enough time to like get in the rhythm, focus on it, and actually get something out of
Hmm.
it rather than just switch, switch, switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly there's a certain kind of efficiency you get, or like added benefit you get from doing several different things kind of in a row
Right,
within each day. But yeah, if you've only got very little time, you definitely got to consider like the time you lose with like task switching and like context switching and
right.
like the efficiency. You've got to be like really And also, like, to hark back to something I said earlier, if you've only got that 30 minutes, like, definitely try to do it earlier in the day. Like I said, like,
Right.
don't try to do it while
Yeah,
you're tired because I feel like it'd be like spending an hour. Um, you could spend half an hour earlier in the day and get the same benefit as spending an hour when you're tired, or even 2 hours or something. So,
makes sense. So yeah, Thai is it's a long way. So taking 30 minutes a day, that would take you a very, very long time. I know
yeah.
you've been studying Thai for a while. So is there anything that motivates you to keep you going? Like when things are like, why am I doing this? Like, is there anything motivating you, keeping you going?
Yeah. So I do have a goal of sort of getting to like a B2 level, probably across like listening, speaking, reading. Writing's a little bit less important.
Right.
So I guess that's definitely part of it. But I should say that so chatting by writing, which obviously includes both reading and writing, and speaking with Thai people, with native Thai speakers, which involves both speaking and listening. At this time, particularly like a one-on-one conversation, those things are kind of motivating in themselves. So I don't really need any additional motivation to do those. I find those kind of fun to do anyway. So they're just fun to do. So I don't need like to motivate myself extra for those. But yeah, for those other ones, reading's getting there. Like I'm enjoying reading Harry Potter. Like I said, I'd never read it before, so I'm
Right.
getting the content and there's enough understanding there that I'm getting benefit from that. But it still helps to have that streak to push me along and also that goal. And for the listening to like videos and stuff, yeah, I think I still need to think of the goal and I need to push myself along. The the documenting stuff on YouTube and whatnot. I only actually started that like what is it like? I don't know, 2 years ago now or a year and a half or something like that. So I sort of talked about my history before that, but I didn't, but I did it in retrospect, right? So, but now that I've kind of got that, I do think that helps a little bit with motivation as well. You're putting yourself out there. I don't know if you feel the same. It's like a public thing,
Public,
so you're
yeah.
kind of motivated by the idea of not just like disappearing one day and like,
You're
you
like,
kind of
where
want to
are
keep
you?
going. Yeah, yeah.
Come
So I think
back.
that kind of adds to the motivation as well.
Yeah. As a Thai language learner, this is kind of off topic, but I do you watch a lot of Thai content, like Thai shows? And do you also watch dub Thai shows, like where it's dubbed in Thai?
Yeah. So Thai shows themselves. I mean, Thai dramas that I've seen, I just can't even imagine why someone would want to watch that stuff. It's so outside like the sort of content I would want to watch in general,
Right.
and I just found it like it's painful to try and watch like Thai dramas and stuff, and even like a lot of Thai TV shows and stuff, like game shows with all like weird, you know,
Yeah.
noises and stuff going on. I find it kind of like bizarre. So. Movies though, there's some good time movies that I've tried to watch, but yeah, I mean, I really struggle still with that kind of content. I think particularly the speed, the breadth of vocabulary, just makes it hard, and also just the delivery is unclear, like intercutting a lot or interrupting people or like muffled and stuff.
Right.
I find it quite hard to follow that still. So I don't. So I have kind of dabbled, but I haven't watched that much. I haven't like gone down that path that much. Dubbed content, I've tried dubbed content. That's probably the best I've got with that longer form media, and particularly I've picked movies that I've already seen like several times in English, so I already know the story pretty well. And that's cool, but yeah, I'm always like thinking, oh man, I wish I was watching this movie in English because
Yeah.
I obviously like the movie, but it's much better to see it in English. So that kind of goes back to like my enjoyment of listening in Thai is just kind of low. So it's hard to motivate myself.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. So my personal experience has been I I can watch a Thai like horror film, like a scary movie, and I'll be so wrapped up into it. I'm just following along. Like there's like Death
Mm.
Whisper on Netflix. I don't know if you have it. Or like these scary Thai movies. I was just so
Mm.
wrapped into the story where I'll just put things together in my head. I'm fine. I'll watch a very popular Korean drama like Glory. dubbed in Thai, and I find the
Mm.
dubbed Korean dramas to be more difficult
Hmm.
than the native Thai because I feel like Thai content's more like surface level and like run, do this, very simple. But when they dub like a Korean drama that's very emotional and very story driven, it's very, very difficult. At least what I found. I know in America, a lot of the Korean dramas you can get Thai dubbed, like dubbed it in
Mm.
Thai. I find this way more difficult than the native Thai content. That's usually what type of content I'll watch.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. The both dubbed and also I think translated written text, which is similar kind of idea, I guess.
Right.
Um, I've noticed I think a little bit, and I've had a teacher tell me as well that it is more difficult than native content because I don't know when they try to translate it, I guess there's like a choice they have to make between like a direct translation of the
Right.
original content and like what's the complexity level there and like how you would say it in Thai if you
Right.
were, you know, trying to make it like natively in Thai. And maybe if they lean more towards the direct translation, it ends up with this kind of more convoluted or like bigger words or something that's just not
Yeah,
natural
bigger
in Thai.
words. Right.
So that's I think part of it. And but with the movie thing, yeah, it's probably worth noting that I can usually follow the movie just fine because there's so much visual stuff going on. Like you can
Right.
usually get a pretty good idea of what's going on, I guess generally. Although you never really know how much you're missing, I guess is another thing. So
Right.
because they're talking and you're like, okay, he went from here to there, but then he said a bunch of stuff. But I'm not quite sure what that was about.
Yeah, I always like to hear what other Thai learners think about that. Because to me, it's always like I always hear other people, like, especially over Spanish, they always say the dub content's a little bit easier. I think because they know the story. But
Mm,
when I tried to do that with Thai, I was just really surprised. Like I found it way more difficult than the native content.
mm,
It might be just, the type of content they decide for the natives. Like you said, like, it's like a lot of sound effects, very like kind of like funny, silly. But some other contents, like other countries will have like a lot more serious and introspective and you're just not used to hearing those words from like a Thai
mm.
person, so it sounds weird. It just doesn't sound as nice.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Oh yeah. A related thing to this is I've heard people talk about watching Thai content but with English subtitles, and
Yeah,
I always wonder. I mean, I've tried that a few times, but I just find I just read the English. I don't even like pay attention to the
I
Thai.
would do
But
that.
other people seem to, do well with this method, so I don't really know about that
I
one. Have you
can't.
have you tried that at all?
I can't. If I'm listening to Thai and I'm reading Reddit on English, my mind's going right to the English. It's just gonna
Yeah.
start going out Thai, so I can't do that.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like this is a very helpful conversation. If anybody wants to learn Thai, I think Nick is a great resource. Definitely go check out his channel. If you have any more questions for Nick, go leave it as a comment on his videos. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to help anybody. Other than that, if you made it to this part of the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm really excited. I'm trying to bring people on, inspire other people to learn Thai. Nick, I think you did a wonderful job, and thank you for coming on the channel.
No worries, mate. Thanks again very much for having me. And yeah, always happy to help out other people if they have any questions. Again, I just want to say again, I'm not the world's biggest expert. What I often try to say is I think I want to put my experiences out there, maybe to represent the average person, not the best learner ever, like maybe an average learner, or maybe even below average, who knows? But
Right.
um, you know if the people that post online are only the best learners, it gives a
Right.
very like warped sense of what's possible, right?
Right.
So I want to give, the everyman's kind of experienced so people can compare and stuff. So yeah, but always happy to help where I can.
It's definitely helpful. Like I said before, it's only people who are week one or week two or they're fluent. So I think this
Right.
really helped. Like, you know what I'm talking about, like fluent, like native level. And it's like,
Yeah,
how do
I
you
know what
go
you're saying.
from zero to C2? Like, what's the middle? And hopefully, videos like this will help fill the gap. But again, thank you, Nick. Enjoy your
No
time.
worries, mate.
Take care.
See ya.